But the Constitution is very explicit about this. The Constitution vested the power to appropriate on the National Assembly. Go to Section 80, Section 81 of the Constitution. It only said the President should present estimates, just estimates to the National Assembly. The National Assembly has the power to increase the aggregate expenditure. The National Assembly has the power to enlarge the revenue framework. The National Assembly has the power to reduce the aggregate expenditure. The National Assembly has the power to reduce the individual envelopes of ministries. When we decide to consult the executive, we are doing that in the spirit of friendship, not because we must do that. We need to get this very clearly, and that is why continuously Nigerians are being misled. The powers to appropriate, to allocate funds, to move funds however we want it within the budget lies in the National Assembly.
Abdulmumin Jibrin, the self-proclaimed anti-corruption hero, was once arrested and arraigned by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) in 2011 for laundering over 15 billion naira for former governor of Nasarawa State, Aliu Akwe-Doma. It is alleged that the resources he used to establish Green Forest Investment Limited, other sundry investments, and his lavish lifestyle are proceeds of money laundering deals for corrupt people. Abdulmumin, who claims to be fighting budget padding, senselessly inserted up to 4.1 billion into the 2016 budget for bogus projects in his constituency, and has tried to blackmail the leadership of the House of Representatives by also adding a large volume of projects to the constituencies of principal officers so that no one would challenge his greed and selfishness.
So many complaints and outcries by his members of the committees, whom he was supposed to have worked with them in absolute inclusion. He has excluded them. At times, members complained to us, including his deputy, that business of the committee were being held in the kitchen in his own house, or taking the business of the committee to his bedroom, or even to his parlor, private parlor. This is uncalled for and is unethical of the House of Representatives.
In addition to this, he inserted a 250 million naira project into his wife's constituency in Argungu, Kebbi State, supposedly for an international market. Abdulmumin also padded 200 million naira for film entrepreneurship training for the proposed Muhammadu Buhari film village that has not even taken off, and has foreign accounts in Switzerland and Liechtenstein, contrary to the provisions of the Code of Conduct Bureau Act, which forbids public officers from holding or operating foreign accounts. This is in addition to the contract splitting scam he was involved in 2014, where golf cars supposedly meant for internally displaced persons were supplied at 3.7 million naira each to a location that cannot be traced in Kano. He was involved in many other bogus contracts of this nature. There have also been many complaints from ministers and heads of government agencies about Jibrin's attempts to extort money from them. Recent findings have since revealed that the film village, for which he inserted 1 billion naira into the budget, was meant to be sited on his private property in Kofa, Bebeji local government area of Kano State. He plans to sell this property to the federal government at an exorbitant price, and a lot of money inserted for the film village is supposed to be paid as compensation to him. It should also be noted that despite raising allegations of criminal padding, Jibrin later changed this to senseless insertions and said that this was not a crime. This shows that Jibrin lies without thinking twice and cannot be trusted. So greedy and selfish was Jibrin in the discharge of his duties as appropriations chairman that the National Assembly leadership had to constitute a harmonization committee headed by the Deputy Speaker, Right Honorable Suleiman Lasun Yusuf, to clean up the mess he made of the 2016 budget. His handling of the 2016 budget process nearly fractured the cordial relationship between the National Assembly and the President.
Well, let me say this very straight. I do not believe that the executive arm of government really understand the document they sent to the National Assembly, or they have even properly studied the document that we sent back to them.
And Speaker Yakubu Dogara stepped in to save the day by ensuring that the budget was revisited, after which the President assented to it.
Abdulmumin was found guilty of complete exclusion of members of the Committee on Appropriation. We also found him guilty of conspiring with some agencies out there, and sometimes even speaking on behalf of the leadership or speaking on behalf of the House itself, where he has successfully taken advantage of being the chief appropriation officer of the National Assembly. He has appropriated to various agencies where your ordinary eye and my own ordinary eyes cannot see.
After the budget impasse, anytime Jibrin rose to speak on the floor of the House, his colleagues called him a thief. The Senate President, Bukola Saraki, and Speaker Yakubu Dogara were the ones who called Jibrin to order after discovering that he had padded the budget by over 250 billion naira. After this was discovered, Jibrin threatened to bring down the leadership and institution of the National Assembly if he was removed. He has been trying to do just this with his unrelenting media war against Speaker Yakubu Dogara, Deputy Speaker Yusuf Lasun, Majority Whip Adodogua, and Minority Leader Leo Ogo. Jibrin, a notorious blackmailer, asked his colleagues to submit their budget proposals on letter-headed paper so that he could turn around and blackmail them with it, and named his padded Film Village project after President Muhammadu Buhari with the intention of blackmailing him as well.
That is a professional blackmailer. He knows how to professionally blackmail and incite and intimidate people.
It was also in furtherance of this blackmail that he falsely accused members of the Appropriations Committee and zonal caucuses of the House of being bribed to speak against him, when in fact it was they who asked for his sack. Jibrin's recent childish utterances have confirmed that he was sacked for immaturity, lack of capacity to handle the office of the chairman of Appropriations Committee, and for acts of misconduct, incompetence, and abuse of the 2016 budgetary process, as he was found not to be a fit and proper person to hold such a sensitive public office.
And he was removed on the basis of incompetence. He was removed on the basis of taking for granted members of his committee. There were a lot of allegations of complete exclusiveness of members of his.
Are you not ashamed that some people will ask that the version of the document you work on could not be passed? It was the harmonized one by the Deputy Speaker that was eventually signed by the President.
Jibrin, who also claims to love democracy, was part of the infamous and anti-democratic Million Man March. Youth earnestly ask for Abacha. 2014, Jibrin campaigned vigorously and vehemently against President Muhammadu Buhari on the grounds of old age, but then turned around to praise him with the aim of conning him into believing his desperate antics and gimmicks. Jibrin's first wife cursed him that he will not end up well because he maltreated, mistreated, humiliated, and divorced her because she cautioned him against overindulgence in hard drugs such as cocaine. Now Jibrin is being used by external forces to malign, destabilize, and destroy the institution of the National Assembly. It is important that Nigerians see this serial liar, drug addict, and blackmailer for what he truly is, and not allow him to manipulate them for his personal gain.